am not quite sure how investigations run in this country, especially from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Like, when crime and criminality occurs, how do these investigations occur? Because when I'm looking at situations here in Trinidad and Tobago, it seems like there isn't too much of that logical 1 + 1 = 2. So if we have a 2 and we have a 1 and a plus, we figure out that the missing number has to be 1. If lions escaped from the zoo, there are lions patrolling Port of Spain right now because they escaped from the zoo. We know they escaped from the zoo because they are wearing colors that say Emperor Valley Zoo lion. This lion belongs to Emperor Valley Zoo. If seen, return to Emperor Valley Zoo. And we see a couple lions roaming through Port of Spain with those tags. Okay, the police get on the matter and they start investigating this. And the first thing you do, I would suppose, is you would go to the zoo. You're investigating this matter. The lions escaped from the zoo. And when you go to the zookeepers in charge of the lions tell you, well, actually, all our lions are inside of the cage. We have all our lions still accounted for here. What does that tell you about the investigation? Who is the first suspect in that case? To me, what that tells me is the first suspect would be those zookeepers handling the lions. If we have lions roaming Port of Spain, patrolling Port of Spain, with tags that say they come from the Emperor Valley Zoo, and you go to the Emperor Valley Zoo and the people in charge of those lions say that all of the lions are still accounted for, they are the number one suspects, because how can you tell me the lions are accounted for and we are seeing them roaming down Charlotte Street? That does not make sense. And I hope by now you'd guess that it's not lions I'm talking about. What I'm actually talking about are bullets, rounds of ammunition. And it seems like over the last year, couple years actually, year and a half or so, when many TTDF, Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, we were finding many of their shells on many crime scenes. Apparently, the criminals were taking these shells and stamping TTDF on the back of the shells just for the kicks of it. Because according to the Defense Force, really and truly, all of their ammunition and arms are still accounted for. We're going to dive into this story. Before we do that, make sure to hit that like button if you have not done that yet. Drop a comment, tell me what you think. Does this sound a little shady to you? And if you are not yet subscribed, now is a good time to do this. As usual, these videos are sponsored on behalf of Mindful Education, Mindful with 2 L's _education. If you're looking for us over on Instagram, we provide learning pods and private tutoring for most CXC CAPE subjects, starting from preschool going all the way up. If you are interested in that, getting your children involved or you involved in some homeschool styled education where there's that more personal aspect in the learning pods, or if you want concentrated effort on certain specific subjects dealing with CXC or CAPE, the CSEC subjects or CAPE subjects, be sure to hit us up. We'll send out a private tutor to you for just that. All right, diving into these news stories. Army boss, audit by TTDF shows all arms ammo accounted for. Preliminary findings of an audit conducted by the TNT Defense Force on its arms and ammunition so far show that all arms and ammunition were accounted for. And if that's so, TTDF hopes the police investigation concerning spent shells marked TTDF found at crime scenes will reveal what's wrong. And to me, this is where I say, I think we've found where the investigation starts. Who are the first suspects in the investigation? Whoever it would have been that would be telling you that all the arms and ammunition are accounted for, I think they are suspects number 1, number 2, number 3. How many of them are telling you that? Those are the first suspects. Because there are Defense Force shells lying on crime scenes. Here's the thing. Where else would the shells come from? As a criminal, as a gangster, you're looking to commit a murder. Would you take out the shells that you have purchased from wherever you purchased it, purchase yourself a metal pressing machine to press out the letters TTDF, and take the time and expense to press out the letters TTDF on the back of your shells before you go out there to commit a murder? Why would a gangster do that? What value is that for a gang? What gain is that for the criminals? That doesn't make sense. So to me, the assumption that takes the conclusion that requires the least amount of assumptions here is that the shells came from the TTDF. And if you're saying that all shells are accounted for, well, it's either that they came from the TTDF a long time ago, or someone in the accounting department isn't telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I don't know how many of you may be familiar with Occam's razor, and the idea is that the conclusion you choose is the one that requires the least amount of assumptions. And to me, the one in this case that requires the least amount of assumptions is that someone in the accounting department isn't totally above board. This was Chief of Defense Staff Air Vice Marshal Daryl Daniel and TTDF Inspector General Sheldon Ramnanan spoke about the audit when TTDF members appeared before the Parliament's Joint Select Committee on National Security last week. This was to gain an understanding of the collaboration between the TTDF and TTPS in the implementation of anti-crime strategies. TTDF officials were questioned by JSC member Jayanti Lachmedial on reports about the emerging trend of bullets marked TTDF found at crime scenes. Daniel said it was very disturbing to the TTDF, which understands what is happening and was not taking the matter lightly. We're working with the TTPS to see and work on addressing that issue, Daniel said. The military always has stringent measures in place when it comes to arms and ammunition and other equipment. The challenge is the human factor is part of it. You have people who should understand rules or functions and sometimes may not live up to what's expected. Daniel said there are no cases in the TTDF subject to disciplinary action in the last year for misuse or misplacement of uniforms or ammunition. So, he is saying this as kind of, a buffer on the defense force, that we actually have no cases of disciplinary actions being called on us for any of these ammunitions or any other kind of material. And I think that right there is an indictment against the defense force. How is it that bullets are raining at crime scenes with the TTDF markers on them and the defense force is saying that they have no disciplinary actions? That's a problem. It's like recently in El Salvador, when all of not all, but so many of the criminals were being moved from one prison to the next, and human rights associations were complaining about this. I don't know how many of you saw that video. I think I did a video on it earlier on week before, something like that, where the El Salvadorian president is having a crackdown on crime and criminality in their country. And it's kind of important because their country was up there in the thousands in terms of their murder rate, and now it has dropped down to some sub 400. You see, the reality is there were just too few people in jail. That's a big part of the reality. And if you are having thousands of people dying per year by murders and no one is in jail, the problem there is that no one is in jail. You can't boast about, we actually have a very low penitentiary population because, our crime protection services so well. We don't have many people in prison. We're not a country the problem is that you don't have anybody in prison. If people are being murdered by the thousands and no one is in prison, that's a problem. So if Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force shells are raining from crime scenes and no one is currently being disciplined or prosecuted for it, that is a problem. Right there, you're saying that the problem is even worse than we thought. The problem isn't just that isn't just that Defense Force shells are being used for criminality. They're being used for criminality and no one even knows how. That's even a worse problem than before. He said evidence has to be connected to a person to prosecute them. And that's something that's not easily done, especially ammunition, which would have different fingerprints on it, if at all. And here's where I'm confused about this, because previously he says that the military has stringent measures in place when dealing with its arms and ammunition and other equipment. But yet you're saying that to find out who was responsible is actually something that's not easily done because of the fingerprints and all of that. So what happened to the other measures that the military had in place? I would assume that some of these measures would be things like signing off. That all of the ammunition would, every time it passes from one hand to the other, they signed off with an amount. So if someone signed off with an amount and now you actually check the amount and the amount that is checked is less than the amount that is signed off on, the person who signed off is the person you blame. That's the person you prosecute. What's difficult about that? Is it that there isn't that kind of measure? The stringent measures that the Defense Force staff is talking about doesn't include a clear line, a clear and recorded line of every person who came into contact with this ammunition. And if you have a clear and recorded line, you check it, you check the signatures, that shouldn't be too hard. Ramnanan said Daniel mandated him in December 2022 to do the audit. He said it was convened on December 28, 2022. This audit comprised a total of 14 military installations that were visited to date. The audit comprised of briefs being conducted by personnel at the installations who are involved in dealing with arms and ammunition daily, and it also involved an actual physical inspection of the various arms and ammunition stored at the various installations. He said an inspection. I am curious if this inspection included a check, an actual count. And I didn't see the entirety of the Joint Select Committee, but I would hope, but it doesn't seem so because it wasn't recorded, but I would hope someone would ask him, okay, this inspection, did it include an actual tabulation? Did someone go through there and check the boxes to see if any of that Defense Force ammunition is missing? Or did they just go there and ask the staff, hi staff, do you have any missing ammunition perchance? And the staff says, no, we don't have any missing ammunition. Okay, let's have a look. And they open the door and you look, boxes, yes. Okay, it's all there, and leave. Is that the inspection? I want to know what kind of inspection was done. Because if you're telling me that you actually counted all of the ammunition, first off, well done on a brisk inspection. But if you actually counted all of that ammunition and found that all the ammunition, even after counting, remains accounted for, then this whole issue is even more confusing than before. I'm not sure how you get to a solution there. The ammunition would have very likely come from some time before if it's that all that you've counted now is still accounted for. The thing is though, I have a sneaking suspicion that they didn't count all of the ammunition. I have a sneaking suspicion that if you did count the ammunition, you would quickly see where the ammunition was missing from. And I have a sneaking suspicion that that might be the precise reason that some of the counting of the ammunition wasn't done. You see, I think a lot of the reality is a lot of the criminal activity in Trinidad and Tobago is facilitated by the people who are supposed to be protecting us. That's the reality. We're finding TTPS shells, we're finding Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force shells, you find police uniforms other places. There are rumors that the police themselves are part of assassination squads, etc. It's well rumored in Trinidad and Tobago that our defense, our protection services, our protective services are part of the criminal underworld. And reportedly, over the last weekend or week, there has been some video evidence that has been surfacing. And I've been waiting on more of this because the reality is the nature of corruption in Trinidad and Tobago from our protective service it's so blatant because they have been doing it for so long. It has become such a comfortable part of the protective service. I think it should be very easy to catch a lot of them in the act. Like those licensing officers who demand bribes for people to pass the driver's test. They do those things in the open. The people with the driving schools that do it on their behalf, they do it in the open. It's not hard to catch them on video. And it seems like some people caught them on video in the Eastern District. PCA to probe video of alleged police misconduct. One day after the Director of Police Complaints Authority, David West, reported that there was an increase in the number of complaints of misconduct against police officers. The authority has reported that they are probing a video and an accompanying social media post which alleges improper activities by the police. A media release from the PCA on Monday reported that they were aware of a video being circulated on social media which shows 3 policemen appearing to take cash from a business place. Text circulated with the video claims that the incident took place in northeastern Trinidad and also alleged that the matter was reported to the Professional Standards Bureau since last year. Contacted for comment, one officer said while the video would be investigated, he did not want to draw any conclusions based on the footage until all the facts were gathered. The video was very concerning to us. However, I want to be wary of saying only one side of this story. I know that several illegal playway operators were targeted over the past year, and that various places some cash was seized and people charged. So the possibility exists that the video may not be telling the entire story. It could be part of a legitimate police operation, and the cash being taken is seized and entered as exhibits for the courts. All right. In that one, the cash was seized, and you're not sure where they put the cash. But I appreciated how the business people in the East did it. They didn't release all of the videos at the same time. They waited till some of the defense came out for the police in the previous videos. Like, it may be part of an investigation into these illegal businesses. And the thing is, the businessman admitted that, yes, we do conduct some illegal activities. But that's not relevant to the police stealing. The other videos show the police taking money and placing it into their pockets. Now, I am not sure how they tag evidence in Trinidad and Tobago. I would suppose if you were taking cash evidence from a business place, you wouldn't fold it and stuff it in your pocket. I don't think that would be in the police manual of how you conduct these investigations. Who knows? I may be wrong. I'm not a police officer. I could be ignorant of the fact that this is how they do investigations. They take the evidence and pocket it, and when they reach into the police station, they take it out of their pockets with the lint and all from their pocket, and then they bag it in the police station. So maybe that's how it's done, but you're understanding that it seems a bit of a fast stretch. And you look at things like this, and you understand then how the criminal activity in Trinidad and Tobago is the way it is. Because we have police like this. We have police who feel that they have the power to walk into a business, open their cash register, and take handfuls of cash out of it and stuff it in their pocket. And they are part of our protective service. We have a defense force where ammunition goes missing and is found on crime scenes inside of murdered people, and then the defense force says that we actually did an audit of this and found that we have no missing ammunition. Well, I don't know how to buy that, because we are seeing your ammunition present inside the bodies of people, inside the bodies of dead people, but yet you are saying that you aren't registering any missing ammunition. So who do I believe? Do I believe the defense force, or do I believe the physical evidence on the crime scene? You tell me. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. Drop a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next video.